Hey guys, what's up? How's it going? So I do want to start off by saying I did kind of hesitate on recording a video just because whenever I don't have a plan figured out, it's kind of hard to go ahead and film, but I have a few ideas. There was something that I had put on my Instagram story of a poll basically asking if you guys would like me to start making nutrition content. And I realized that that's something that I find a huge interest in when it comes to like calories, macros, proteins, carbs, fats, stuff like that. And I'm really interested in showing you guys what most people don't really know about nutrition. If you guys don't know, I am a certified personal trainer. And I've had questions in the past where people have asked me what made me want to become a trainer. And it made me realize that when I first started working out in the gym, I would come into the gym and I didn't know how to train. I didn't know the importance of nutrition. I didn't know that, how to grow your muscle a certain way or something like that. So when I would come into the gym, I didn't know how to read certain exercises, like for example, a hip thrust, or if I was doing it on a Smith machine, I didn't know how to set it up. I didn't know how to train in general. And the pictures that they have, like a description, like a small description on certain machines, weren't very helpful for me, especially since I'm a visual learner. Even though I've seen the pictures, I would have to see it as a demonstration, like it being done, which I didn't understand like how to research and stuff like that either, to be honest, which it's kind of common sense, but also not really. Because at the end of the day, it helps when you're also experienced, but in order to get experience, you have to learn. So with me, I would just come into the gym and I would be training legs like 6 times a week, sometimes 7. Sometimes I wouldn't give myself a rest. And I wasn't eating really anything at all. I wasn't eating the proper nutrition. I wasn't eating a good amount of carbs. I wasn't eating any fats, really anything like that. I was hardly drinking any protein shakes either, which you don't need protein shakes to build muscle. However, it is really convenient to have them. When it comes to, like, for example, if you didn't get enough protein in for the day, you can drink a protein shake, and it's really convenient to have. But I noticed when I started training in the gym, there's this thing called like newbie gains, where it's like it's really easy for someone that has never worked out before to build muscle, and that's what happened to me when I first started training in the gym. I noticed growth really quickly. But after like the first 3 to 6 months, I built a good amount of muscle. I built a lot of inches on my glutes, but then I started getting into a plateau because my body was starting to get used to these exercises that I was doing, and I didn't realize I was supposed to change them. So it was just me training legs 6 times a week, which worked, but I also, if I were to do that now, I wouldn't see any results because I've been training for over 6 years. And my body is just used to a bunch of weight and a bunch of like constant adjustments over time, and it's like it wouldn't do anything. But as far as my nutrition goes, I wasn't eating that well, but I was still seeing results because, like I said, it's newbie growth. After being in the gym for a certain amount of time and I realized I wasn't seeing any results and I was getting into a plateau, I started doing a little bit more research, and then I looked into a personal trainer for myself. So I got a personal trainer. He helped me understand more of the type of workouts I was doing in the gym, like glute exercises and stuff like that. He helped me kind of, I wouldn't say condition myself, but more like a hip thrust does blank. This is what this means. This is what you're doing type thing. And after a while, it was helpful for a little bit. And then I realized that I wasn't really seeing the results I was looking for. The thing that really brought encouragement for me was just walking up to people that are already experienced and asking them, what did you do? How did you get to where you are right now? So I will say the gym can be scary for new people, but you have to build up the encouragement to just come into the gym, because at the end of the day, people are not worried about you, what you're doing. People look for like 5 seconds and then they look away. They're not worried about you. I have to remind myself of that constantly, even though I've been training in the gym for over 6 years. Like it's a constant reminder that you have to give yourself over time. Even to this day, I worry about people looking at me, but it's like, it's not even that serious. People are gonna go home, they're gonna forget about you. I had to remind myself of that, and I would ask these people in the gym, like, how did you get to where you are? And they would remind me that, the same people that are lifting 100 pounds lifted probably 5 pounds. So they had to get there. They didn't just start picking up 5 pounds and rubbing it out. Like, that's crazy. They had to build it up. So it takes time. It's the same thing as abs. You have to build the muscle over time. I started feeling a little more discouraged because I wasn't really knowing what I was doing in the gym, and I started I really locked in for a good 6 months to a year, just researching and trying new things and trying to figure out what works for me and what doesn't, and what is the best exercises, most studied. I've always been about science and the science behind exercising, and not just this works better. You know what I mean? I really, when it comes to someone like Jeff Nippard, I've always found interest in his exercises and what he does and the videos that he creates, because it's really interesting how he uses science-based workouts, and he also uses science explanations to back up his reasoning. After a year or so, I get another personal trainer that I found at another gym, and he started helping me. I told him my goals. I wanted to be aesthetic, I wanted a good physique, I wanted to be toned, I wanted to be fit, stuff like that. So he helped me be conditioned a little more, meaning he would have me do cardio and abs 3 to 4 times a week, which sounds a little insane, but the results that I was looking for, it was very helpful. And like I said, I was looking for physique and very toned and stuff like that. So I wanted pretty good glutes, but after doing cardio for so long, I ended up losing that muscle, if that makes sense. Because I was doing cardio for so long, I actually just lost the glute growth, and I was getting super toned, super lean, but my glutes were losing definition. I do believe in intervals, where you run for a little bit, you rest, you run for a little bit, you rest, stuff like that. That'll probably help you be a little more conditioned, but at the end of the day, I was really just losing my muscle that I was trying to build, so it felt like it was a waste of time. I was training 6 times a week, cardio and abs 3 to 4 times a week, and it was a lot. So I trained with this person for 4 months, and I got my dream physique, but the glutes still weren't there. And that's really what my goal was. I wanted to look feminine, you know what I mean? And I don't know how that makes someone look feminine, but it's I guess standards, which it was my standards, so I don't know. Other women will probably relate to that. But anyway, I stopped working with this trainer, and then after working with this trainer, it kind of made me realize I kind of want to be my own personal trainer. Because if I'm my own personal trainer, I have the answers already. I've done all the research, I already know the answer to it. So if I have a question, I already know how to figure it out. And that's kind of where I was at. I didn't want to keep asking people left and right because I was always getting different answers. So I started looking into personal training and doing my own research in that aspect. I locked in for a good 6 months, and I finally got it. After that, I also did nutrition coach, physique and bodybuilding, and corrective exercise, all in different times, by the way. But it did take me a while. But after all that time that I spent researching, it kind of made me realize that after what I had heard from other people previously, whenever I would ask questions and stuff like that, some people are guiding you the wrong way. Whenever you actually do your research and you look into science and stuff, some people are really just telling you the wrong answers, and that's why you can't just trust anyone. So it's yeah, it's good to ask people, but also be careful who you're asking and what they're telling you. So that's what really made me want to become a personal trainer, because once I started looking into nutrition as well and actually learning how to read the back of the ingredient list and stuff like that on foods and stuff, I really started realizing what kind of things they're putting in America's foods and why it's causing inflammatory responses. For example, something as simple as ham. Ham should not be unhealthy, but they make it inflammatory, causing issues in your body by adding preservatives and additives and stuff like that, which we don't need at all. I think it really just helps keep it on the shelf longer, maybe. I don't know. Either way, it's everything is kind of processed unless you find it in a farm. If you have your own farm, then you'll probably have a better chance of getting healthier food, or food that's better in your body, and you're not gonna get side effects from it. But unfortunately, everything that we buy in a grocery store almost always has a side effect because it's not really good for you. Now, that's why I encourage people to read the back of the ingredient list. It doesn't mean you have an ED, it just means you're precautious. That's it. Reading the back of the ingredients is not embarrassing. Actually, it's way better than you think it is. Before, I would see things with like the label of protein on it, and I would think that's healthy for you. I would think, you know, protein means healthy. Well, yeah, it does, but what else is in there? So whenever I'm seeing like protein shakes or protein powders, I'm not gonna name any specific brands, but when it comes to just protein powders, it could say it has like 25 grams of protein per scoop, but how much added sugar is in there? How much additives and preservatives are in there? How much artificial sweeteners are in there? Is there sucralose, which is a sugar, or any type of sugar that ends with OSE is a sugar. So it's like, you have to think about things like that. And it really matters what you're putting in your body, because these things could be causing chronic pain or acid reflux or, I don't know, like literally anything, lactose intolerance. Like it could literally be causing anything, and you just never know what could be going wrong with your body until you look into your nutrition and what kind of things you're eating daily. You don't realize it, but nutrition plays a huge part in our daily lives and how we're training, because 80% of your results is going to come from your nutrition alone. So if you're just eating bad, you can't out-train a bad diet. And I've always heard the saying too, abs are made in the kitchen. I do believe that's a fact, because when I was in a calorie deficit, which just means I'm eating like 300 to 400 calories less than what I'm training in the gyms, meaning I'm training more than I'm eating. That's literally just calorie deficit. And a calorie surplus would be the opposite. I'm eating more than I'm training. So when I was in a calorie deficit, I noticed I seen the most development in my abs. Now, if you're just genetically blessed and already have abs, and if you go in like to a bulk and you're eating more food and you still have your abs, and it just depends. It's really weird. But basically, I'm only 20 and I've had the experience of doing a body recomp, which is just losing body fat, building muscle, and then cutting and also bulking at the same time. So I've done all three of them, and I kind of have an experience of like what to do and what not to do, like the ins and outs of training. At this point, when it comes to nutrition, I find a huge interest in just telling people what kind of foods to eat and what not to eat. And a lot of people have a certain opinion on eating healthy, because that usually means you're spending more money, but that really just depends, because vegetables aren't really that expensive unless you go to certain stores like Publix, or, you know, I know like Publix has like the most clean, healthy looking and actually healthy things like vegetables. So like their produce is really good, but if you were to go to Walmart, there's a 50-50 chance of it just not tasting good at all. So like, I understand that. Is money really an objection for you? Because the money that you're scared to spend on healthy food, you could be spending that money that you could be using for healthy options towards like your daily Starbucks drink, eating bad food regularly, and depending on where your money is going, that could be the money you could be spending towards a healthier diet. So that's really what made me want to become a personal trainer. I just really want to help people, and I know it sounds cliche, but I want to help women like me that didn't know what to do in the gym and now have a guide and know what to do in the gym. Because even though I was asking people, I still had to do it myself. I still had to stick to it myself. I had to do all the research. I had to train myself. People, like, you can have a personal trainer, but at the end of the day, it's still you against yourself. So I really had to do all the hard work. Now, I encourage you guys to do the same. And I'm hoping with these videos that I create, I'm really gonna start, you know, touching people and finding the right audience to reach these videos with. I just looked in the camera and thought I had like 6 fingers. One last thing, I would rather have a nice body that I trained for and I worked really hard for than a genetically blessed body that just looks already aesthetic and good. because I worked for this and I trained for this. It's food for thought. Don't compare yourself to people on the internet that are just already genetically blessed. It's pointless, and it's a rabbit hole that you don't even need to go down. And I'm speaking to mainly the woman, because you don't really find men that often comparing themselves, because men just support men, honestly, like they're just chill. I hope you guys enjoy this video.